Hello and welcome. If you're watching this video today, you're probably interested in Century 21 Heritage Group's Leads 21 online lead gen program. And before you decide to sign up, it's important to think about whether or not an online lead generation program is right for you. And hopefully this video will help you make that decision. So Leads 21 is the online leads program that we support at Century 21 Heritage Group. It's exclusive to Century 21 Heritage Group's agents, and it's administered using Agent Locators software. You can sign up for the Leads 21 program at leads21.ca. So again, the big question we want to try and answer today is, are online leads right for me? And the simple answer to that is it depends on a lot of things. So I want to make sure that you watch this video, take what I have to say, put it into your own framework of your situation, and come up with a decision to answer this question on your own. So the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to online leads and just the cost of business in general, agents have two finite resources. You have a finite amount of money and you have a finite amount of time. And deciding where to spend that time and to spend that money is a very important decision when you're coming up with your business plan. If you're watching this video, I strongly encourage, if you don't already have a business plan, to make sure you put one in place, because you want to figure out where you want to allocate your money and your time to get the maximized return on your investment. Any sort of activities that you do to get business, they take a certain amount of money and or time. You've got different activities that are very time intensive but don't cost you a lot of money. These would be like open houses, calling your sphere of influence, door knocking, cold calling, that sort of thing. You've got, on the other end of the spectrum, activities that take a lot of money but maybe not as much of your time. That'd be something like farming a neighborhood or advertising. Then there's ones that take not very much money, not very much time. Print newsletter, email touches are examples of those. Then you get ones that cost a little bit of money and like a little bit of time, pop-bys and note cards. And then you look to online leads, which are in this unique spot along with events in this case, that do cost a lot of money and can take up a lot of time too. So it's very crucial to think about not only the money aspect, but also the time aspect when you're deciding on what you're going to be doing as activities to gain business. So 85% of real estate transactions are from repeat and referral business. These are from clients that already know someone or are passed along to an agent from a referral. Okay, so the most effective use of your time and your money is to cater to this 85%. Market to your sphere of influence. I've highlighted those activities in red here that are more on that side of the business activity thing. That's print newsletters, email touches, pop-bys, note cards, and calling your sphere of influence. These activities are the best bang for your buck, the best in terms of money and time. It's important to make sure that you cap this out before you start marketing to the other 15% of people, which is people that you don't know, that don't have an agent in the marketplace already. These tend to be more costly, farming, advertising, and they also can be very time consuming too. If you're putting on events, you're doing online leads, open houses, door knocking, cold calling. So it's very important to consider the benefits of these activities before deciding to jump and invest your time and money into them. So the most important thing to do before you start chasing that extra 15% is to make sure your sphere is tapped before you start tapping into prospecting. That doesn't mean you have to have a giant sphere. You can have a small sphere before you start chasing the 15%. Maybe that's one of the reasons you're here today, is because you don't have that large sphere and you want to pull more people into your sphere. But you want to make sure you've got the systems and the programs in place to make sure you're maximizing your sphere of influence before you start hitting into the prospecting side of things. It's easier to get business from people that you know and people that trust you, right? That extra 15%, they don't know you. Cold calling, door knocking, online leads, it takes a lot more work to get them to trust you, to break down those barriers, to get them to transact with you. The other thing I want to talk about too, a lot of agents have the perception that online leads are a shortcut to getting business. And that's simply not the case. It's still a process. An online lead can come to you and it can be what you'd call total junk to start with. They just have an email address they've given to you. They're not interested in buying or selling at that time. It can take a long time and a long process to take those leads, which many would consider junk, and turn them into a verified buyer or seller that's interested in transacting. Online leads are a commitment, and that's what I'm trying to get at here. It can take more than 6 months for an online lead to bear fruit. It is really a long-term commitment, just like marriage. You need patience and fortitude, and also the financial backing to be able to see it through this amount of time. You cannot, and I repeat, you cannot jump into an online leads program, only do it for a few months, and evaluate the productivity of that program at that time. You need at least 6 months before you can start seeing the fruits of your labor, but typically a year or even more is required, just like farming an area. So when you're trying to make a business decision, it's always important to talk about and investigate the return on investment that you get out of whatever that activity is. So I'm going to take you through a bit of a mental process, and I'll put some numbers to it too, to try and show you what kind of return on investment you can get from an online leads platform. So the two big investments you have, your finite resources, are your money and your time. You put those into an online leads platform like Leads 21, and it pops out leads and potentially deals to produce revenue for you. And from that revenue, you can do a return on investment analysis. Now, at this point, I do want to caution everybody, and I'm going to read this out verbatim, okay? The numbers used here that I'm going to use in this return on investment analysis, they're very rough estimates with the intention of showing the process of calculating return on investment, okay? It's really highly recommended that you do your own research and analysis using numbers that are relevant to your situation and to your marketplace before making a business decision. Just because I put the numbers in here doesn't mean they're relevant to you. It's a thought exercise. So remember that before moving forward. So we're going to look at the first component of the inputs, the investment that you're going to be making into this program. That's money. So online leads can cost a lot. One of the things we've done for you with Leads 21 is we've set up this program with Century 21 Heritage and Agent Locator to minimize the cost to you so you can maximize your return on investment. It's a smaller barrier to entry. Leads 21 costs $0 to set up, unlike other platforms. And even the Agent Locator itself, if you went directly to them, it costs $500 plus to set up any of these platforms. Often a lot of these other platforms too that you might see online, they're in US dollars as well, so something to keep in consideration. The monthly fee for Leads 21 is only $60 to access the platform. Other platforms cost more than 3 times as much as this. Even Agent Locator itself, which is one of the most cost-effective leads generation platforms on the market, costs 3 times as much as Leads 21 does. So Leads 21, we've got a great system for you. On top of your monthly account spend, which is the $60 for Leads 21, you also have to put money into generating online ads to drive the leads into your website. Now, the cost of this is on top of that, and we've got several tiered packages of these ad spends. $165 for bronze a month, $330 for silver, $495 for gold, and above $495, if you want to get into like the real heavy expense, contact us and we'll put you on a platinum package. Just so you know too, these are estimates on a month. These are based on a 30-day month. So if you've got 31 days in a month, it'll be a little bit more. Or if you've got 28 days, say in February, it'll be a little bit less because these are typically billed on a daily basis. Okay, so you've got $60 for the account. Then you've got, I'm going to use for the basis of this return on investment analysis, the silver package, which is where we recommend most agents should probably settle into to make sure you get a solid return on investment, which is $330 a month. So that cost per month total would be about $390. Again, that's an estimate because it depends on how many days there are in that month, which brings the cost per year, for the sake of the argument here, to $4,680. But one thing agents always forget about is it's not just a money investment. If you put that money into this program and you don't spend any time on these leads, you're not going to convert a single one. You need to put 1 to maybe even 2 hours on some days into this program, nurturing those leads to make sure that you get the best out of it on the other side. This is 350 plus hours a year. That's a solid time commitment, and not a lot of agents have the time to commit. So you want to make sure you've got both the money and the time to commit into a program. Okay, so you've got the money, you've got the time. Let's see what we can get out of the actual leads themselves, out of the leads program. The cost of buyer leads, so this is the advertising cost and how it turns into an actual lead coming into your system. It varies depending on the marketplace. You can get on the low end $10 per lead, but you can get anywhere up to $19, $20 even per lead, depending on the area that you're targeting. Some of these areas are very oversaturated. There's a lot of competition. Others are not. So choosing an area that you want to target is a very important part of deciding and analyzing what your return on investment will be. So given that we're going to use an estimated cost, I'm going to say $20 per lead because I want to see on the conservative side of things here. That was like a very high estimate of cost per lead. If you're spending the $330 per month on the ad spend, that translates to about 16.5 leads per month, or 200 leads per year. I rounded it up by a couple leads. And again, remember these numbers are just estimates. They vary depending on situation. So now you've got 200 leads that come in. What are the chances that any of those leads are going to convert for you? Well, we've got those numbers, and these numbers are needed to do a return on investment analysis. An average agent, and this is directly from Agent Locator, converts about 1% of the leads that come into their system. Good agents, ones that constantly are following up, nurturing the pipeline, doing all the things they need to do, will convert about 2% of their leads. The best agents on their platform, the ones that are amazing at conversion, they're amazing at calls, they can convert 5% of their leads. So this is a pretty big swing because this is 1% to 5%. That's 5 times as many deals that the best agent would do over an average agent. I'm confident that if you do all of our training and you do all the things, you're going to be close to that 2% range. But we're going to be doing a very conservative analysis here. So I'm going to do a leads conversion rate of 1%, which is the average, okay? And again, the average is if you're doing all the things, maybe you're not the greatest at it, but you're not also dropping the ball. So that's where we're looking at the 1%. So if you've got 200 leads per year, you're converting on 1% of those, that leads to 2 deals per year on this ad spend. So 2 deals per year. Now this is where it really gets down to whatever marketplace you're in. You look at that, you times it by your take-home commission, which can be anywhere between $10,000 and $30,000, depending on what the commission's like and the average homes are like in the area that you're focusing on, which gets you a total revenue somewhere in the ballpark of $20,000 to $60,000. And I know that's a large spread, but again, this is just a thought exercise. Take the numbers for your market, put them into this process, and come out and see what you come out with on the end. So just looking at everything put together, there's the investment of money, about $4,680, investment of time, 350 plus hours. The leads that come out give you 2 deals, which ends up being $20,000 to $60,000 in revenue. Of course, you want to minus your money from that, so it's about $15,000 to $55,000 in net revenue. And then you can also factor in how much time is spent on it as well. Now, the net revenue calculation here too, that's not including other business expenses, driving clients around if it's a listing, paying for photography, that sort of thing as well. But this is just your general net revenue based on this analysis. So a few other things to consider too, because this return on investment analysis is pretty simplified and there's other intangibles that you may want to consider. Many of these leads, I said that you get 2 leads coming out of it, you may be able to convert on. A lot of them need to buy and sell. So you may have 2 ends on any given lead that you convert. There's also a lot of variability when you're talking about converting only 2 leads a year. You may have 1 year where you don't do any and 1 year where you do 4. That averages out to 2, but you may have a bad year. You may have a great year. You may do 6 one year. You may do none the next, right? So it's something to consider. You're not always going to consistently do 2 leads a year. Leads can also help your sphere of influence grow, and this snowballs into future repeat and referral business, right? Like you may have one of those 2 leads you convert in a year may turn to an A-list client that sends you referral business, and maybe they're going to buy or sell a couple times over, maybe a few times over the next decade, and turn into more business down the road. Generally, that's how real estate works. If you work your sphere and you improve the size of your sphere, you get more clients into that sphere of influence, it snowballs down the road, and years down the road, you're going to have many more clients coming in that you weren't expecting, because those leads can become sources of new leads. The one really big thing I want to stress here, though, and I've seen agents who've gone into leads generation programs that I've administered myself, that if they don't put in the work, you're never going to convert any leads. You need to commit mentally as well as the time and the money to it to be committed to working these leads. So in conclusion, I'm going to talk about who the program is for and maybe who it isn't for, and try and think about which bucket you fall into before jumping on this Leads 21 program. This program is for agents that have maximized their sphere and want to grow their business. Talked about this before already, but make sure you focus on your sphere. Once you've got your sphere in place, then it's the time to start looking for other ways to grow your business. You want to make sure you're an agent that's good at working with systems and staying in touch with leads. If you're the kind of person who has a problem managing your time and you know you're going to drop the ball on leads that come in through the internet because you're too busy working with other clients, this may not be the system for you. You want to make sure you have the money to commit to the program for at least a year. Don't just jump in for a few months, be like, I didn't get anything out of it, and drop it, because it's going to be a waste of money. You need to see it through. A lot of these online leads that come into you to begin with take time to nurture to a close. You want to make sure you have patience to stick with the program, even though it may not bear fruit for that year. So you may only start seeing real returns on this in a year or two. And it's easy to commit to it, but you also have to have the patience to be able to commit. And only you can be the one who knows whether or not you'll have the kind of patience for that sort of thing. The final thing is you really will need to make sure you have the time to spend on this. It may be easy, but like when things start getting busy, you hit a spring market, a fall market, a little bit of a surge, you don't want to drop the ball on these leads. You need to set off a certain amount of time per day, per week, to commit to this leads generation program and cultivating your leads. So who is this program not for? Conversely, it's for agents that maybe you haven't organized or maximized your CRM. Get your CRM house in order before jumping onto a program like this. Are you looking for a quick return on your investment? You just want a few quick leads and just to get some fast conversions because you're desperate for money. If that's the case, it's not for you. This is a long-term investment. If you expect all leads to be high quality at first contact, this probably isn't the place for you either. A lot of leads that come in won't be high quality at first. You really have to work them and follow through the Leads 21 program systems to make sure they start to bear fruit. If you can't financially commit to this for over a year, take a look at the numbers. It doesn't make sense. Make sure you have at least a year expecting nothing coming in on this before jumping into a program like this. And finally, I mentioned already before, but if you don't have the time to work your online leads, this isn't the program for you. All right. So that being said, Leads 21 is a great program. I just want to make sure before you jump in and sign on, you do the thought process and think about it before signing up for it. If you're still not quite sure, talk to your office manager, give me a call, talk to me about it. We can have the discussion whether or not it makes sense for you. And you can sign up for the Leads 21 program at leads21.ca. So thank you for listening to this presentation, and I hope you gained some knowledge out of it.